and welcome. It's fantastic to have you with me. Now, for those of you who've seen my last video, you would have seen me describe this, the world's first 6-valve trumpet, and this is part 2 of that video series, because in the last video I was asking for suggestions about what some of the valves should do, and now I've implemented those suggestions. So the first 4 valves operate as a normal first, second, third and fourth valve. Now the fourth valve is this sort of abomination here composed of right angles and just bodged together bits of an old flugelhorn that I had. I tried to get a nice curved bend here, but nothing that I had was the right size and shape, and the one thing that I did have that came close got in the way of the second valve here because it had a water key on the end. So I've left it with this horrible sort of arrangement here that just looks disgusting. The fifth valve here is as close to a quarter tone as I could physically get it. It is actually probably about well, it's not short enough to be perfectly in tune, but it's as good as I could do. And the third valve, or the sixth valve rather, is just the old sixth valve. I wasn't able to do really much with that, largely because some of the suggestions I had for the sixth valve was have it come out a different bell, so you could have a muted, have like an echo cornet style bell, have it jump 3 million octaves or drop an octave or whatever. But the trouble is that the sixth valve is actually the first valve that the airflow goes into. So if I was to then deviate it out another bell or have it do something funky, you wouldn't be able to use any of the rest of the valves, or if you could use some of the rest of the valves, they would be really out of tune. So I just decided to leave it as it was. And I'm leaving the instrument in its current position for a couple of reasons. Number one, actually for one reason. This instrument is made out of 2 donor Indian trumpets. Those trumpets were absolute rubbish to start with. And even though I've made something that sort of functions, when you try to play it, it's quite obvious that it was made from rubbish. I haven't added anything to its playability. In fact, it's probably less playable now than even what it was. But the biggest problem is the valves. These valves are just rancid. When you press them, you really don't know whether they're going to come up again. So that's a problem. And also, if you leave it sitting for more than 30 seconds, all the valves stop working anyway, and you have to use a litre of valve oil to keep it going. So I've used more valve oil on this than what the instrument is actually worth. So I'm actually just going to leave it here and just sort of leave it as a project, an essay, shall we say, into the art of instrument modification. So we've got these first 4 valves. The first 5 valves really function as an instrument when the valves, go back up again. And I thought I'd just give you a couple of scales to show what I can do, or what the instrument can now do. If we attempt a microtonal chromatic scale, we get something like this. Just making sure the 5th valve is going to work. It doesn't really work as a microtonal instrument because it's more of a tremulant valve, I guess you could call it, but it's just not simply short enough to be perfectly in tune. The 4th valve does work as a 4th valve, so you can go. There's not really too much else that I can really say about this instrument. It is what it is. But thank you for joining me. My intention is, now that I've sort of proved that I can, disassemble an instrument and put it back together again, I think I'll actually continue doing this with some slightly better donor instruments in the hope to create a slightly better result. Thank you very much for watching.